Welcome to my Spitfire Assault game. This was based around World War II fighter jets that are located in vast ocean territory trying to destroy the enemy naval ships. So I want to talk about the things I've faced along the way, the challenges, how I overcame those, what I did that I believe was actually very, very good for this project, and just looking over the code and also walking you through the controls and such towards the end of this video and how to actually win the game. So here we have the aircraft. We can go to the aircraft script. This is the main script that I started with when I started the game. It's changed a lot since then. We have a lot of getters and setters. This is just so we try and adhere to the singleton design principle. Try get as many kind of things separated as possible, so it only has like one solid reason to be in a class. Here we just have the fly method on the fixed update. This is just getting the controls that we've put in another class somewhere, which I'll show you soon. We're predicting the up, so this is just transforming the up. This is basically when you let go of the analog stick, it will go to a flat kind of torque again, like it will try to point upwards. Here we're just setting the velocity, speed and the rotation from those controls. So if we go to controls right here, we can modify these if need be. It's very flexible. Okay, so now we want to go to the boost just to show what these getters and setters do. The boost and the acceleration. So this is just the boosting. This also goes hand in hand with the acceleration. So this is checking if it actually needs to boost or deboost. We have a lot of booleans going on here, and the reason for this, one of the challenges that I faced during this was that I was using the fixed update for a lot of things, since this is a physics based kind of system. And what this was doing was it was going through these over and over and over again, and if I put a while loop in here, the game would crash. So I had to use if statements, if and else. So basically here we're checking if the speed needs increasing. If so, do so here. Once the speed is hit max, then set the speed boost to false, and then we can start the deboost set method here. If we go to acceleration, very similar. We're just this is for when the aircraft pitch is less than -0.9. So when you're going down, you'll get this. You'll accelerate very fast. This creates the illusion of gravity and just the power of the aircraft. As you can see, we're increasing the pitch of the audio as well, which creates the effect of distortion in the propellers. So creates a more illusion of speed. We can actually have a look at that and how I did that in the game. So if you get to a high enough height and we just use our pitch, we get that acceleration. We also have our roll and whatnot here with the left analog stick. This is the left analog stick. We've got the inverted controls of the pitch, and the yaw is with the left and right. Okay, let's go back to the scripts. I want to talk a bit about the ship boundaries. This is something that was quite difficult to get done. So basically this is just checking if the ship is within the bounds or something or not. But one of the things that I faced in this is that once the ship got to the outer bounds of the collider and it exited this collider and it tried to get back in, it wouldn't just go back in and do its thing, it usually stayed around the edge and stayed there and just wobbled against the edge. And I had to think of an idea of how I could fix this problem, how I could go about working around this. So I decided to have an inner ship boundary as well. So if we have look at the ship boundary and then in ship boundary, basically once the ship gets to this outer boundary area, it will go towards the center. So it gets outside here, it will go back towards the center, so the inner boundary, and then once it hits this inner boundary, it's going to go and do its own thing again. So it's going to have this kind of pattern of going in and out around here, like so. And that's how I fix that issue. If you actually go to the code of the ship boundary, where is it? Ship movement. So here we're just detecting if ships are in bounds of each other. So if they're not, then we go about doing this boundary stuff. So we have, if it's like outside the boundary, then we want to move. Oh no, if it's inside the boundary, sorry, then we want to move freely within this area. We're going to slurp the rotations. And then if not, then we're going to head towards the center. Face towards the center, well, head towards the center, yes. If they are actually in bounds of each other, if the two ships are next to each other, or three ships are next to each other, we can actually add more ships than just two. I've created a class to build as many as we need. We can rotate. We can rotate these ships away from each other, so we're actually just minusing the direction of what they're facing, and they should just face away from each other. Down here we're just getting a random angle for them to face, and this is a coroutine which is called every so often. What have we got it set to? Well, like 10 seconds. So every 10 seconds they're going to change direction, they're going to try and head in a new direction with a slow slurp rotation. Excuse me. Well, I'll have a look at spawn enemies because I'm quite proud of how this class went out. It's quite a clean class. So we're going to build some spawn points around the map. Then we're going to build our ships on top of those spawn points. I'm going to add it to a list so we have a reference to it later. We're also going to build turrets on top of these ships and also add those to a reference as well. And this is just the getters and setters for the references, and we can actually look at the number of ships. This is going to determine how many objectives we actually have left. Very handy. Things that I was going to actually have that I didn't get around to doing was the radar. The radar would have been a very nice feature, or just some pointer arrows towards the ships, because it's quite a big area to look around for these ships. If you don't know where they are, you're gonna be looking for a while. So if I had these arrows at the side here, these pointer arrows that determine which angle you need to face in order to be going towards these ships, or a radar down the bottom, which I would have tried to implement if I had more time, then it would make the game a lot easier and the user experience would be a lot more fun. What else do we have? These are just simple collision classes. Just comparing if the bullet hits the turret, then we're going to take away the health of the enemy, and we're also going to ricochet. By ricochet I mean we have a sound file which is ricochet. So now I may as well just go back into the game and see if we can determine what's going on. I can explain what's going on. I'm actually going to turn down the sound real quick. So here we have the two enemy ships spawned. So they've spawned on a spawn point that was spawned for them, and then the turrets are spawned on top of that in their respective locations. This is done so we can create as many of these ships as possible and be dynamic about it. So if we did want more turrets, then we'd just have to create more spawn points of the turrets. So here I'm actually being able to shoot with the right trigger, and the bullets are colliding with the turret's collider, and there we go. Once it hits 0, the turret disables. The ship will register how many turrets it has left. If it hasn't got 0, I mean if it has more than 0, then it's not going to disable itself, but once it hits 0, then it will disable itself and our objective count will go down. So here we have our bounds playing. If we get too far out of the aircraft bounds, then that canvas group will turn on, well not turn on, but the alpha will become greater and we'll be able to see. So it's actually always on our screen, but the canvas group is hiding it. Here I'm able to boost. The ship is turning. It's reached its bounds. It's turning back into the playable area. Here we're able to do barrel rolls with the left analog stick and the RB button, depending on which angle we're facing. And this was also quite difficult to get done because of the fixed update method that I was using to control the rotations. We had to determine which angle it's facing and how far to actually rotate. The main mechanics at play here are the flying, the dodging and the shooting. So as you can see, we're able to use barrel roll and boost for dodging, also our movements, our flying behaviours to get to the ships, and then our shooting RT, just to have an objective in this game, have a clear defined objective to destroy these ships. It says in big bold writing at the top. We also have a health bar at the top on our GUI. For our GUI, for our health bar, we just used a simple fill, I believe. We go to health bar. We're just using an image type of field, and then we can control this fill amount as we want. As you can see, we can show decreasing all the way down to 0. I've also added these ships around the side, as even though we are in a vast ocean territory, not a lot's going to be going on, but I also added these fleets of ships around the outside, on the outskirts of the border, so it doesn't look so plain, so it doesn't look like you're the only thing out there. You know, there are people there. I want to go through some more of the coding actually. I want to show you how I went through animating the aircraft. So we have booleans for what we want to do with our aircraft depending on the input. So this is just seeing if the input's more than 0, and if so, we're going to change this boolean here. We go to our animator. As you can see, we also have this weight on these, which actually creates quite a smooth movement, I noticed. So I use these quite a bit, depending on what they're doing. So we have the elevation, so it's going to go back and forth between the elevation depending on the booleans. The elevators, basically the elevators are what's on the back of the plane. I did some research into this. Yeah, and then we have our roll. which is the ailerons, I believe, which are on the wings. So those are the two at play here, these two layers. And I believe that is all. So thank you for watching, and thank you for listening.